Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the Outdoor Art Club presentation with Elaine Petrocelli. From the book passage, I'm Jill Sampson, and I'm working with Erin Griffiths to bring you this program. For those of you who are not familiar with the Outdoor Art Club, we're a nonprofit women's organization founded in 1902. The club engages in civic, cultural, and charitable work in our community, including presenting public programs like this one. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dina Eisenhart. Dina is a member of the Outdoor Art Club and program chair for today's event. Thank you for bringing this event to us. For those of you who have had the opportunity, you can also print out the book list. It was a part of the link, and it will also be in the chat box to make it easier to follow along. Thank you, Dina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dina Eisenhart. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to today's webinar, Book Passage's Annual Holiday Book Fair with Elaine Petrocelli. Elaine is the founder and president of Book Passage in San Francisco and Marin. She will once again reveal new books for book lovers of all ages. We are glad Book Passage has a program that provides books to underprivileged Marin children and youth. Today and tomorrow, when you shop at the store and online, please mention OAC. Book Passage will donate a percentage of sales to the Outdoor Art Club, so please be sure to shop there. And lastly, there are so many books to go over today. We will not have time for questions and answers, but please contact Elaine if you have any questions. And here's Elaine Petrocelli.
Hi, I'm so happy to see you all. And I wish we were in person, but I'm thrilled to see you online. The stores are open, so please come see me in person. I'll be around a lot during the holidays, of course. In fact, this weekend, we have 2 art shows in the store in addition to our author event. Daniel DiPiero, beautiful art, is in our gallery, and we're having a reception on the 3rd. And on Sunday, the 4th, Tom Killian, a real Mill Valley and Book Passage and worldwide favorite, will be showing his fabulous art in the cafe. So please come and join us for that and for everything that you need. You can go on bookpassage.com and sign up for our newsletter or see what we have going on. As you know, Book Passage seems to have something going on every minute, and that's kind of what keeps us excited about our work. Let's start by talking about some fiction, and I'll talk about as many of the books as I can on the list, but if I miss some, you can email me, elaine@bookpassage.com, or talk to any of our staff members. And if you're buying online, please, there's a comments field, put OAC in the comments field. If you come into the Corte Madera or San Francisco stores, just say that this is from the Outdoor Art Club. Thanks for doing that. The first thing I want to talk to you about is Horse by Geraldine Brooks. This is I'm going to move it over here. This is an absolute treasure. Geraldine Brooks is a Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award winner, and every one of her books is absolutely incredible. You probably remember The People of the Book and The March. Here we have a woman who is working for the Smithsonian who finds a drawer of bones of a horse. She cannot figure out why this horse's bones are in there, but she's determined to know. And then we go back to the time of slavery in Kentucky, and we meet a young man whose father was freed by the owner, but he refused to free the son. And the son is a horse trainer, and he is training a great horse. And we follow what happens to this young man as he escapes slavery, and then all the way back and all the way forward to the current day, and the man who is descended from those folks, and the woman who is discovering what's going on at the Smithsonian. Brilliant book, great for your book clubs as well. My next book is a totally different kind of book. It's Michael Connelly's Desert Star. I love Michael Connelly. Every single book he writes, I tell you, you have to read. I really mean it, because what's more fun than just forgetting everything you're supposed to be doing and opening a Michael Connelly book and just getting immersed in the world of Harry Bosch and all of his friends, including Officer Ballard. In this case, they are working on cold cases. Harry has a case that has been haunting him for years, and he is determined to find out what really happened. But before he's allowed to, he has to find out about the disappearance of someone who, a young woman who is of great interest to a city councilman in LA. He's not real interested in that case, but he and Officer Ballard look into it as a first thing and find out it's a big thing. Wonderful, wonderful book. I hope everyone has read Lessons in Chemistry, but if you know anyone who hasn't, you have to give it to them for Christmas. This is the story of a woman who in the 60s wants to be a scientist. She is a graduate student at UCLA when her so-called mentor rapes her. She stabs him with whatever she has in hand. And when the police come, of course they arrest her. So her career is not going to go very far, but we watch her as she does make it go far. And at one point, when she cannot be a scientist, when she goes on air with a cooking show called Lessons in Chemistry, and everyone is turning in because everyone finds her charming and wants to know. This is about love. It's about death. It's about life. It's about rowing. You can give it to a man or a woman. Great book. The next one I want to talk to you about is The Rabbit Hutch. You can see this autograph band on here. We don't have very many autographs left because this was our first edition pick for August, and it won the National Book Award. Now, the National Book Award is chosen from all of the great writers of a year. So she would have been up against some of the most important writers who had books come out in 2022. Here she is, this unknown author who we picked for our first edition club, because our first edition club only picks authors who are not famous yet. And so if you get one of those treasures and it becomes a big famous book, you might have invested in something very, very important, and it might be worth a lot more than the stock market. But the real reason to be in the first edition club is to get great books to read. This is set in Indiana, in a town that used to be very prosperous, but after all the car manufacturing stopped, it is not prosperous anymore. There is an apartment building where people have rent subsidies, and each apartment has different types of people in it. We hear from each of them, but in one of the apartments, there is a young girl who has something extremely traumatic happen. And this goes on for this book lasts for a week. And in that period, we get to know heroes, we get to know villains, we get to know what life is really about. Don't miss The Rabbit Hutch. Trespassers by Louise Kennedy is our December first edition pick. I love this book. It's set in Ireland during the Troubles, and we have a young Catholic woman who is teacher in a parochial school, an elementary teacher. And she has one child whom everyone shuns because he's poor. And even the priest shuns him. But she realizes he's a very special kid who's sensitive and really has a future if he can make it through childhood. In the afternoons, she goes and helps her brother who owns a pub. And she is a barmaid in the evenings. And often the British soldiers come in there and strut around and make everybody nervous because they know this is a hangout of Catholics. And there's a lawyer who starts coming in, or maybe has been coming in, a very handsome Protestant barrister who specializes in defending Catholics who have been arrested by the British. She falls in love with him. Gorgeous love story, but of course, there's a little complication. We're in the middle of war, and the gentleman has a wife. Don't miss Trespasses. Laurie R. King, you'll notice that I've got the mysteries in with the so-called novels. That's because Laurie R. King, who actually was named Grand Master of Mysteries this year, which is the kind of thing only the greatest mystery writers get. It's not even given every year. But she says, what's a novel and what's a mystery? And our staff goes through the same thing. This is a novel. It's got great characters. It's wonderful, but it's also a mystery. Or this novel is not shelved in mystery, but there's a murder. What is it? Which is which? So I decided for today to mix them up. This is called Back to the Garden by Laurie R. King. It is the most amazing novel and mystery. It is set in Northern California in a big peninsula estate. Think of one of those estates, down the peninsula. And the gardens are incredible. And we get great descriptions of gardens. But the estate has been having hard times because the heir to it decided to start a cult there. And he had all these people living there. And now someone has found a body, and a detective is there to just figure out what has happened. And this intricate, brilliant novel is also an absolute great mystery, great for men or women. Demon Copperfield by the great Barbara Kingsolver. It's Oprah's book club pick, but I want to tell you that it is a great book for anyone. Barbara Kingsolver was visiting the home of Charles Dickens, and she sat at his desk and she thought about the book she was trying to write about Appalachia. She wanted to show the pain and the poverty and also the beauty of her home area. And then she realized that the story of David Copperfield was the story she needed to write about Appalachia. And so we have this young man who is called Demon Copperhead by his friends. And he is orphaned. He becomes addicted to the drugs that were prescribed and are continued to be prescribed in that area, but he prevails. And she made every chapter mirror the David Copperfield book. You do not have to read David Copperfield as an assignment before you read this book. I hadn't read David Copperfield in 35 or maybe 50 years, but I did want to read it again after I read Demon Copperfield. Don't miss it. The great Louise Penny, another mystery novelist who writes great novels, has a new one, A World of Curiosities, set this time back in Three Pines, where Inspector Gamache and his wonderful family, the bookseller, the poet who says obscene words all the time and has a duck that says it too, the great inn, all of them are there. But in this case, we go back to a time when there was a mass killing in Canada, when all of the women who were graduating from the Polytechnic Institute were murdered, not the men, in a mass killing. Canada reeled from that, and you may remember it. And it caused Canada to put in strict gun controls. Would that could happen elsewhere, but I won't get political. We go back to that case and we find out what it means to Gamache, what it means to his family. And then we move forward to a finding of a hidden piece of art in Three Pines, which has the clues to a killer Gamache has been after for many, many years. You get to eat a lot, you have a great time, and just forget everything you're supposed to do for the holidays. Just buy everybody A World of Curiosities and you'll be done. You can go sit and read the book. The books came in last weekend and we weren't allowed to sell them until Tuesday, but the box was here and I couldn't resist. So I stole one and took it home. I borrowed it. And I spent the whole weekend reading A World of Curiosities. Don't miss it. On the Rooftop is another great book that was one. She is also a first edition author. It's set in the 60s in the Fillmore district of San Francisco, when most of the houses were rented by Black families, those old Victorians. These were working people, but they could not buy property in San Francisco at the time. Our main protagonist is a mother of three very talented daughters. She hopes that they are going to be a great singing group and be world famous. The daughters have other routes they want to take with their life, but we get to see that period. We get to see the mother-daughters. We get to see the women who sit on their porches after work and watch each other's children. Our main character is an emergency room nurse. There is so much depth in this book. Do not miss it. On the Rooftop. And Elizabeth Strout, the great Pulitzer Prize winning novelist who has brought us so many wonderful books, and this time is bringing us the novelist Lucy. Most people know her from Olive Kittredge, one of her Pulitzer Prize winning books. And Olive makes a tiny, tiny appearance in this book, but it's not about her. It is about Lucy, who has lost her cellist from the New York Philharmonic, wonderful second husband. She has two daughters with her first husband, William, who is a scientist. And William has come to her and said, this pandemic is real. I know the science involved here. We have got to get you out of New York. Come with me. I have rented a house in Maine. She thinks he's crazy. She even leaves her computer there because she doesn't think she'll be gone very long. And she goes to Maine with him. And a whole lot of amazing things happen in her life as she gets to know herself and also gets to know her ex-husband in ways she didn't know him all the years they were married. Gorgeous book. My book club is reading it for January, and one of the members called me the other day and said, I need 8 copies. I'm giving it to all the women I love for Christmas. I just want to mention paperbacks just because they're great stocking stuffers, and sometimes you just need a little gift. My Monticello by Jocelyn Nicole Johnson was our first edition pick when it was in hardback. It is set in the future at Monticello when an heir to Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, who has been working as a guide there, brings a whole lot of Black people to be safe in Monticello when white supremacists have taken over the South. The Resilience by Marin's own Jasmine Darznik. Don't miss it. It's set in San Francisco. It starts in 2018 when Dorothea Lange arrives by ferry in San Francisco at the Ferry Building. No, my store was not there in 1918. She has a camera and $10. And what happens next is just delicious. This is a novel, but at the end, she tells us which parts are real. And Louise Erdrich, The Sentence is another book to treasure and give to people you love, is actually set in Minneapolis during the pandemic when Louise Erdrich's tiny little bookstore, which exists. If you're in Minneapolis, you should go see it. It's called Birch Bark Books. And the store is closed to the public, but doing what a lot of us did when we were forced to close. They're doing shipping. And then customers start to knock on the door and come in. There's a fabulous protagonist who has been very troubled, who's been hired in the bookstore. And in the midst of this is the George Floyd murder. Fabulous book. Let's talk about the nonfiction. Okay, here's a little slim book for you. This is by the great writer Douglas Brinkley, the great historian. We have an event on Sunday at 1 p.m. in the Corte Madera store with Douglas Brinkley. It will be a hybrid event. It's free, so if you want to see it from home, you can, or come. I hope you'll come in because you'll see me there, because I'm a big fan of Douglas Brinkley. Usually he writes about great presidents and all kinds of important turning points in history. And this too is about a great person in our world. It's about Rachel Carlson and what she did to change the world with her Silent Spring. Also, it covers John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon and Republicans and Democrats who had a great awakening as we realized our environment was at risk, and how people worked together across the aisle to make changes. And they did. They made a lot of changes. And we can see that in this book. Of course, we have so much more to do. But I should tell you, don't be totally daunted, because the book ends here and the rest of it is notes, so that you can actually have the actual footnotes and historical notes for everything he talks about. Okay, Bono. Bono has written a book called Surrender, 40 Stories, 40 Songs and Story. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I had never heard Bono. I didn't know who he was. I opened this book and started to read it. I thought, yeah, I think he's famous. And found that this amazing writer is telling us his story of growing up in Ireland, of struggling to find himself. It's beautifully written, beautiful songs, and this is a great gift to a Bono fan or to anyone who loves great writing. Taxi from Another Planet is a totally different kind of book. It's about a guy who gets in taxis and talks to all the taxi drivers and finds out what they think of the world. Pretty fun. The Pirate's Wife. Okay, this is my heroine. Sarah Kidd was a socialite, and she had two husbands, both quite acceptable. And then she fell in love with what was then called a privateer. Privateers were not as shunned as pirates are today, but what they were doing was pretty shady. She loved him and she managed all his stuff. And when he died, she continued to manage everything. The only problem is when she died, where all the treasure was, died with her. Fabulous woman, great story. Cool is Women Leaders Reversing Global Warming by Paolo Gianturca and her granddaughter, Avery Sangster. And they went to other countries and interviewed people. And the granddaughter interviewed young people and Paola interviewed the older people. And it is these brave, wonderful people who, following Rachel Carlson, are really working hard to make our planet survive and make our species survive. My Travels with Mrs. Kennedy is by Clint Hill and Lisa McCubbin Hill. We have signed copies, so if you want to give somebody this treasure, that ask for a signed copy. Clint Hill, as you know, was a Secret Service agent who was guarding Jackie Kennedy during the administration. He is the man you saw on the back of the car when the assassination was happening. He has written several books with Lisa, but for many years he wouldn't talk about it at all. Now he is sharing his experiences with the First Lady, where he traveled from the time she became First Lady all the way till after the assassination. One of my favorites is right after she became First Lady, the Kennedys went to Paris, and Jackie was determined that the French would let us have Mona Lisa visit the United States. De Gaulle had already said no. The head of the French culture had already said no. But Jackie Kennedy, who of course spoke several languages, including fluent French, convinced them, and the Mona Lisa came to the United States. As you may recall, President Kennedy, when he was introduced, said, I am the man who is here with Jackie Kennedy, because she was the heroine. Here she is meeting the Pope. She goes to Pakistan, where Clint is having what my grandmother would call a conniption fit, as they were going up into the Hindu Kush, where you never knew what was around the next turn. And she's met by one of the leaders who wants to celebrate her by doing a killing of the animal they will eat. Clint has to figure out how to get her out of there, and he does. John Meacham is another great historian, and here his And Light, and There Was Light, which is a great book about Abraham Lincoln. I can never get enough about Abraham Lincoln, and I can never get enough of John Meacham, because he gets to the depth of the story. There have been so many Lincoln books. All of them are, I'm sure, just fine. But in this one, you will be captivated, I promise you. And again, it isn't as long as it looks, because it ends before the last couple hundred pages. Siddhartha Mukherjee, The Song of the Cell, an exploration of medicine and the new human. You may know him for the Emperor of Maladies. Here he is talking about what is going on with cellular research and what we can do in medicine, and what the absolutely fabulous chances are for making things better for us, but also the dangers. He is a riveting writer. And there's one chapter there I cried, because he, at 40 years old, suddenly felt that maybe life wasn't worth it. Maybe he had no reason to be here. And anyone who's ever had a bad day should read this chapter, because here's one of the most famous scientists in the world, and he too had a bad spell. How to Speak Whale is great fun, wonderful for anyone who loves animals. It's about the future of animal communication. The author was kayaking with a couple of friends off the coast of the Santa Cruz area when there were huge swells, and they thought for sure that they were going to die, that their boat would capsize, when a whale breached and came onto their boat and kept them from drowning, and then went away. No one would have believed this, but there were a lot of people whale watching, and they were taking photos and video of the whole thing. And he went on to devote his career to figuring out how animals communicate. Beautiful book. The Revolution by Samuel Adams is by Stacy Schiff. Stacy Schiff is, again, she was the author of Cleopatra and so many other great books. And Samuel Adams, one of our founding fathers, is one that many of us don't know too much about. I minored in history in college, and I still didn't know much about Samuel Adams. I knew some things. I knew he was a journalist. I knew he was a troublemaker, and then he got people to do things, but I didn't know his real story. I even didn't realize that the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, which he turned into the great rallying cry of the revolution, was because the British were coming for Samuel Adams. And when he says the British are coming, It was Paul Revere's warning that saved Samuel Adams' life and then also made the revolution happen. Because we know today, social media is pretty amazing. This was the social media of our time. Patty Smith, A Book of Days. Patty was at Dominican with us last night. What a fabulous woman. She has a photo or a painting on every single page, one for every day. And in every case, she tells us something that is really fascinating about herself, about others, about the world. And I love the last photo of her kitty. This is a treasure for our Patti Smith band. Solito by Javier Zamora. I believe we had an event with him. We had signed books. We sold them all. But Zach tells me he's going to be doing another event offsite with Javier, and he's going to try and get us some more signed copies. Javier was a child in El Salvador whose father had to leave when he was a tiny infant because the horrible gangs there had decided they were going to murder Javier, his father, because he wouldn't cooperate with the drug lords. He got across the borders and got to the United States. A few years later, Javier's mother was also threatened, and she had to leave. And here was Javier being raised by his loving grandparents. His parents were something he saw on Skype, but he did not know them. And when it was decided he should get to the United States, his grandparents and his parents arranged for a coyote to bring him. This is his journey and the people who he met and who helped him along the way. I sobbed, I can tell you, when his parents met him and brought him to what would be his home, and they crossed the Golden Gate Bridge to get to San Rafael. And this his 9-year-old remembrance of what that was like. Javier has gone on to be a Stegner Fellow, to be an award-winning poet, and a real mentor to other writers. Do not miss Solito. You can also get it in Spanish. I'm going to talk about some gift books. I never know, again, where does poetry go? Does it go in fiction? Does it go in gifts? I don't know. I love poetry, so it should be first. Musical Tables is by the great Billy Collins. These are short poems. And Billy Collins is an absolute charmer. We had an event with him just a few weeks ago, and I think you can get it online on our archives, but he's so much fun. He inspires kids to become poets and to love poetry. One of my favorites here is called 3 in the Morning. I may get a word or two wrong, but it's a very short poem. It's my right hand is asleep. That's a start. Who hasn't felt like that at 3 in the morning? Women Holding Thing is by the great Maria Kalman. Beautiful, beautiful art of all pictures of women doing things that women need to do. Great gift for any woman you love. Homage to the Bird is a gorgeous photography book. The birds are alive and real. He photographed them, but then he photoshopped them with nature so that they wouldn't have to sit too long for their photo. He got the photo and then he took the photo of something where the bird would want to be or where he had found the bird, and he put them together. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. And here's an art book that I love, Frida Kahlo, the painter and her work. Anyone who loves Frida Kahlo will love having this gorgeous, gorgeous book for Christmas. And here are some of the artwork. I forgot to tell you about Bird Planet, but I'm just going to hold it up and say, come on in and see it, because it is beyond gorgeous, and it too is, for any bird lover, just what you need. Cooking is great fun, and California Soul is by Tanya Holland, the chef who had brown sugar, and what was trained by Alice Waters, and has a forward by Alice Walker, the two great Alices. These are great recipes. They are soul food done with a California twist. Don't be afraid. The recipes are very doable. Smitten Kitchen Keepers is by Deb Perlman. Deb Perlman is coming to our Corte Madera store in January. The store in-store event tickets are sold out, but we still have online tickets. So give somebody a Smitten Kitchen and Smitten Kitchen Keepers, and they will love you for it because her recipes are fabulous and she's so much fun to read. And then give them the online event at the same time, because you can buy them a ticket that includes the book, and you can give them the book now. Ina Garten Go To Dinners is just so wonderful, because during the pandemic, she realized that even she got tired of cooking everything from scratch. And so she experimented with things that you can buy, that you can add to your own recipes. And these recipes are fabulous. Sports. This is a year of great sports books. We love 28, a photographic tribute to Buster Posey. And we have a feeling, actually, when I interview people to work at the store, I sometimes ask them if they know who Buster Posey is. I don't care if they know who Bono is, but I do care if they know who Buster Posey is. I'll hire them anyway, but I kind of want to know. I don't ask them how many children they have. I don't ask them how old they are. I just bring up Buster Posey. We all love Buster Posey, and this is a terrific book, and Buster was all for it. And the photographers are just magnificent. So give that to anyone. If you have, this is the weekend to give somebody a book on soccer. And here is a book called The Gods of Soccer. There's some men over in England who cover football, the real football, as they would tell you. And they have found what they consider the best football soccer players in the world, men and women, and give you photos or pictures of them. This isn't on your list, but you need it. If you have somebody to give a great book to for Christmas, this golf book is the ultimate. So I realized that we had missed golf because we have seem to have every other sport here. Field of Play is absolutely amazing if you have a football fan on your list. So don't give it to me. I'm not a football fan. But if you have one, this is fabulous because Michael Zagaris was the 49ers official photographer. And so, of course, although this covers the whole NFL, it is the 49ers who get the best pictures. So, and lots of them. There's a fabulous book for you to have. Now I'd love to talk to you about some children's books. So excuse me while I grab a pile. And the first one I want to talk to you about is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, a story you don't know, right? I hate books that play music. They are against everything I believe in about books. Books shouldn't play music. But this one is an exception because it has all the different orchestra pieces. So you have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and we have the clarinet here. How I wonder what you are. We're ready. Get to the trombone. I could go on and on. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. The banjo. Actually, I love this book. I'm giving it to every little kid I know. And I understand that we have this personally picked book club that covers people of all ages, whether they're babies or people ancient like me, and a lot of people are getting Twinkle Twinkle because toddlers absolutely go nuts for that book. Farmhouse by Sophie Blackall. She's won the Calder Continental twice. It's so gorgeous. It is a story of a farmhouse, a working farmhouse that had a great family history, but now it is abandoned. The farmers have left because of the economy. And so a new family comes and brings the farmhouse back to life. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful art. Lizzie and the Cloud is one of my true favorites. Here's Lizzie and here's her cloud. She goes out to the Saturday market with her parents and they buy her a cloud, her very own cloud. Other kids want other things, but she wants her cloud. And she just wanted an ordinary cloud, nothing special, but her parents give it to her and she gets the directions caring for your cloud. And if you've ever received a present or anything in the world with directions, you know that they always leave something out. I don't think they mean to, they just forget something really crucial almost every time. Same thing with the cloud. They forgot something in the direction and Lucy needs to figure out what it is. And in the end, what it is that she needs, as Milo, her cloud gets bigger and bigger. He's covering the entire ceiling of her bedroom. Kids just crack up with it. One night, Lizzie heard a low rumbling overhead, and she knew what this meant. She had under her bed, her cloud was having a tantrum. And then she realized what was the missing thing. She needed to let her cloud go, and she did. Beautiful. And now when she sees a rainstorm or a cloud in the sky, she wonders if it's Milo, and she says hello to him. Beautiful book. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu wrote a beautiful book a few years ago. The Book of Joy was one of my very favorites. Now we have a picture book, The Little Book of Joy. Look at that gorgeous cover. Isn't that amazing? And it has the same spirit and the same joy of the adult book. But here we are. Joy is the warm, tingly feeling on the sun tickling your toes in the morning. It's the giggly, squiggly feeling when you are doing something silly. Even if you slam the door and your joy can't get in, it's just on the other side, waiting in a loving hug. And even if there's a loud noise in the night and your joy gets scared away, it comes steaming right back with the light of the silvery moon. Joy is the bubbly, bouncy feeling of finding a good friend. And once you let joy in, like magic, your heart always has room for more. We discovered that the more joy we shared and the more joy we had, and the more joy we had, the more joy we could share. So look for joy all around you and share it. Write it in a letter, play it on a drum, sing it to the sky. It will travel up in the air and across the ocean. Someone will find it and share it. And as it spreads from person to person, the world will fill with joy. And this book just makes me happy. Now we're going to get into some books for slightly older children. And one of them is, I'm sorting a little bit here, I missed it. Don't want to forget The Wimpy Kid. The Wimpy Kid Diaper Overload. The Wimpy Kid and some friends form a band, and it's called something like Messy Diapers or something like that. It's called Loaded Diaper. And it's all about this band, and it is the funniest thing in the world, and also dealing with siblings. Flamingo is an absolutely gorgeous book. It is about a girl's vacation that transforms her as she gets to know a flamingo. This is a wordless with words. There are words, but really it is pictures that tell the story. So it is really an early graphic novel. Beautiful, beautiful book. Morning Sun in Wuhan is about a little girl who is in the Wuhan area during the pandemic. And she sees what's happening. She cannot go out. She misses her friends terribly, but she starts to cook. And there are recipes in here, as well as a great story of what she learned to cook while she was in Wuhan during the lockdown. It's a fabulous chapter book, and also for people like me. Stuart Gibbs, the author of all those fabulous spy school stories about the kids who gets into boarding school to learn to be spies. In this case, we have the Labyrinth of Doom, and we have knights in training to go out and get rid of dragons and save the princess. And now it's up to these three friends, Tim, Belinda, and Ferkel, a fourth friend, and their dog Rover, to save the world. And it is laugh out loud funny. It's the kind of book that kids will read over and over. And there are lots of Stuart Gibbs books available. And so once you get a kid hooked on the Labyrinth of Doom, you are going to have a real reader. Adventure Some Comics is by the wonderful Josh Shinga. He's the creator of a book called Meanwhile that kids love. But if you have a kid in your life who is so hooked on video games that she cannot stop long enough to read a book, try this one. This is a choose your own adventure in which this cartoonist has given the graphic novel, which it's very video game kid friendly. And no matter what the kid does, the story changes. And I am telling you that parents have bought this book for their kids and come back and said, oh my God, we turned off the video game. So not a bad choice. Braiding Sweetgrass for young adults. This is a slightly easier version of the great book Braiding Sweetgrass, about the First Nation people's answers to so many things in the world, about the healing medicines, about our planet and our globe. And if you missed reading Braiding Sweetgrass when it came out, we still have lots of copies here. We love selling it, but you might want to sell this version and then give it to a young teenager you love. 2 Degrees is by Alan Grant. Again, I think I have a theme here because it is the theme we should have. It is about a planet, our planet, in crisis in the future, when there are great fires on the West Coast. What could be more timely for us? This novel is brilliant. Alan Grant often has written about wars and what children's who have been brave in wars, and really gives us a true look at what happens without losing the the young adults' interest. Here he is talking about the planet in crisis. And these kids have got to do some things fast to solve what is going on. We all have to do some things fast, I think, but it's not a preachy book. It's a really exciting adventure story at the same time. And then my last book for children that I'd like to tell you about is the Anthology of Aquatic Life. This would be a great family gift. Beautiful, beautiful illustrations and information about, and you can see that it is not, it's easy to read, but you can, even a scientist will learn from this book. Get this book, put it on your coffee table, go inside, cook Christmas dinner, and you'll see that people are going to pick it up and love it. I promised that I would tell all of you about audiobooks because I'm a believer in audiobooks. I'm personally not an ebook reader because I can't remember anything I read on a screen. And my son-in-law, who's a neurobiologist, tells me it's because we use different parts of our brain when we read on screen than when we read in books. Maybe that's why I can fall asleep if I've read a book before I go to bed, but not if I look at my computer. I don't know. But we have, in addition to our first edition club, a personalized book club where you can give a book every month or every other month to someone you love of any age, from somebody you just had a baby shower for to somebody who's just celebrating her 90th birthday. But one of the things that people were asking for were audiobooks. And so Julie Carlucci, who does our personal book clubs and our first edition club, has developed an online, an audio book club. And for $49, you can send somebody 3 months of audio book picks just picked for them. Julie will write to them when they get the gift, find out a little more about what they like, and she will send them a book for 3 months, or you can sign up for 6 months, or for a year, or forever. But 3 months is a great way to start, and the price is really great. And she will make sure they get an audiobook that they love. If for some reason they don't, she'll exchange it for another one. But this is such a special gift to give to someone you love who also loves audiobooks. And of course, they can listen to the audiobooks on their phone, anywhere, on their iPad or on their computer. This is our answer to Audible, which is owned by Amazon. And as you know, we're not real friendly with Amazon. We used to love Audible because it was independent, but they bought it. This is called Libro FM, and you can sign up for it on our website. And if you want just one book at a time, or you can get into this personally picked audiobook club, and you can make some people very happy and very impressed. Whatever you do, I hope you're going to take time for yourself to read during this holiday season. Just put a book in your bag wherever you go. People are always late. And I consider that a gift when someone's late, because I can sneak a little bit of time reading a book I'm involved in. And thank you all so much for supporting the Outdoor Art Club. It's such a treasure in our lives. And also for supporting Book Passage over all these years since 1976. You've been there for us, and we want to be there for you forever. If you're, please do come into either of our stores today and tomorrow and forever. But for today and tomorrow, if you tell us that you're an Outdoor Art Club patron, we will be giving a donation back to the club. You can also do it online by putting that in the comments field of your order. And any time that we can help you, we have all these extremely enthusiastic booksellers here and in our online department. You are going to get a human being who loves books, and we will help you find just the right book. We also gift wrap, and during the Christmas season, the volunteers from 10,000 Degrees are here to do gift wrapping for you. And we also will ship for you. And don't forget our used bookstore, because that also benefits 10,000 Degrees, helping young kids who would not have the opportunity otherwise to get an education beyond high school. With great gratitude for all of you for being my friend and my customers, I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you at Book Passage.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elaine. Would you like to say any closing remarks or before we close?
I'd already unmuted myself. Sorry about that. I would just like to say that I consider the Outdoor Art Club one of the great treasures of Marin County. I love it, and it's so beautiful, and there are so many wonderful things that go on there. And I feel that it's almost like a sister to Book Passage, the same kind of spirit. So thank you for letting us be part of your lives, and please come and see me. I do want to say to you that if you want something beyond books, we have this great buyer who buys all these things for presents. I stole this today. I have to give it back. I don't own it yet. This is a scarf made by an artist who does each one at a time. Come see what else we've got. But in the meantime, be sure to tell me you're from the Outdoor Art Club when you come. I'd love to meet you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. We hope you enjoyed our program. Once again, as Elaine said, shop today and tomorrow at Book Passage store and online mention OAC. Book Passage will donate a percentage of sales to the Outdoor Art Club, so please be sure to shop there. Our next webinar is on January 26, 2023 from 1 to 2:30. Anna O'Malley from Commonweal Garden will speak about nature and healing. So that's it for today, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Elaine.